And we're live on YouTube. This is Male Entrepreneur Podcast, episode number 194. We're almost at 200 episodes, Purdeep.
We got to do something special for 200, man.
We do, I agree. And we're live in 3, 2. Welcome back to the Male Entrepreneur Podcast, the podcast for men who win, with your host, the man who wins himself, Purdeep Sangha. Purdeep, how you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. I like to win, but I don't always win all the time, man.
You know what? I think we can all relate with that.
Yeah, I know. And it goes to today's topic because, well, you asked me how the renovations are going. And I said, you know what, they went great up until this period. And I think that's really the theme of this topic is finishing strong. And finishing strong not only in your life, with what you do personally, in your relationships, but specifically, and very important, that you finish strong in your business, especially with your clients.
Okay, so this opens up a whole can of worms. I think there's probably a lot of different reasons, maybe running out of steam, running out of excitement, maybe, I don't know. I bet you there's a bunch of different reasons that we can explore about why towards the end of a project, sometimes we tend to lose that oomph that we started the project with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's start off with what happens if you lose that oomph. And I'm going to share two particular examples. I'm going to share one that's more of a personal example, and then I'm going to share a business example. Or it's not business on my end, business on the other person's side. Well, I guess it's business on both sides. But one was my mother-in-law was here a couple of weekends ago. And, my mother-in-law is awesome because every time she comes here, she does the laundry, right? So she takes a lot of the... She feels, I think, guilty. She's got to do something while she's here, and then she does all the laundry. Typically, my wife does it, and I do it sometimes. And so she did the laundry for the kids, and it was a lot of laundry. It was like 4 loads of laundry, and then what ended up happening was she had folded the laundry, and when she put it all away, it was just kind of mangled altogether. So she spent all of these, it's like literally 3 days doing all this laundry. And then she put it into a pile where it was just kind of like gobbledygook. And I looked at the pile and I'm like, all of that work. And I'm like, I can't even find what I need to find for the kids. And the kids can't find all the work. Part of me was actually pissed off too, because I'm like, I can't find anything. The kids got to go to school this morning and I can't find their clothes. And then I had to calm myself down and say, oh, it's okay. You know what? Part of me actually threw the pile down on the ground and then picked it back up and put it back. And then I was just like, long story short, I had to refold all the clothes and put them in piles. And, you might be listening and saying, Purdeep, you're such a jerk. Why would you even criticize that? Your mother-in-law spent all of these hours trying to do that. And this is the whole point. She spent all of this time and effort doing that. And it kind of felt, and I appreciated it, but that oomph wasn't there because the last little bit of it was just kind of not done to the point where it could have been done. I'm not criticizing her. I'm just saying, it would have been awesome. Like I would have been singing her praises if it was all put in the proper pile so my kids can actually take their clothes out and do stuff. But it kind of negated all that work that she did. So that's a personal example. And so the question that I have for you listening out there is, where do you do this in your personal life? Where do you do this with maybe things that you're doing for your spouse, or maybe things that you're doing for your kids, or maybe even things that you're doing for yourself, right? Whatever it is, even if it's things like washing dishes, do you make sure that the last little bit, maybe it's drying them off or putting them in the right spot, whatever it is, are you doing it right the way you should be doing it? Or are you losing steam? The second example is the one that's kind of annoying me right now, because we've been living in renovation stages, you can say, for the last 4 months. It's been pretty crazy around here, and I just want to have my place back, right? Because our stuff has been all over the place, and I'm happy with everything that we've done. But we got our painter to come in. Super nice guy. I love the guy. The individual is awesome, right? His crew is awesome. But what ended up happening was it was supposed to be a 2-week project, and now it's extending into the 4th week. And he's taken some other jobs in between, some of the stuff he kind of messed up on, some of the stuff that, he's not taking accountability for. And he's finishing it off very weak, like extremely weak. He started strong, and I was like, okay, I'm so thankful I got this guy. He's doing a great job. A little bit, he's going above board here, but then he just kind of got sidetracked because he took on too many other jobs. And now he's finishing off so weak that I don't think I'd ever refer him to another person. Had he finished off strong, man, I'd be referring him to every single person I know.
Mm-hmm. So the thing about that, we have this thing in our brain called recency bias, where we give more importance to the things that most recently happened. So even if he's kicking butt and taking names for the first 2 weeks, if he slows down and delivers poorly the second 2 weeks, that holds more weight in our brain. That whatever just recently happened kind of overpowers the awesomeness that was the first 2 weeks. It's not really a fair thing that we do this, that our brains work this way, but it is how our brains work. And it's important to understand that the way you finish something is going to hold more relevance and more weight in the minds of the people involved than how you start.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I completely agree, because it's all about emotions. And that last emotion that they feel in connection with your business is the one that they're going to remember the most, unless there's some other event where they totally made you feel great throughout the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can kind of get by a little bit and maybe give them a little bit of leeway. But that last one is typically, as you pointed out, the one that we remember the most. And remember that people base their decisions. Yes, there's a logical aspect. But a big part of it is the emotional side. A
Mm-hmm.
huge part of it is the emotional side. And people do business with other people that they feel good about doing business with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This guy could be a phenomenal painter and do these kinds of things, but if I don't get a good feeling from the person, I'm still not going to refer them, right? Or I might be less likely to refer them. I may still refer them, but I might not just refer them to as many people, right? Or I might be selective in terms of who I refer them to.
So I got a question for you. You mentioned the possibility that he took on a couple of new jobs in between. And I know that as an entrepreneur, I have to discipline myself and not take on new work. I end up turning down a lot of clients specifically for that reason. My tattoo artist, surprise, surprise, I have a tattoo artist. When he's doing my tattoos, sometimes he'll get done with one and he'll want to start on the next one before the old one is even finished, because he just loses the excitement for the old one that we started. Or he'll get halfway through part of one and he'll skip to another part to keep himself going, because he just gets bored doing the line work of one particular part of the tattoo. And this is something that creative people and high achieving people suffer from, I think, which is we get really excited when something is new and we dive into it. But oftentimes before we finish, we lose that excitement, or we get distracted and we want to go start on another part of the project, or we want to go start on a new project entirely. Thoughts on that from a business owner's point of view? How do we avoid losing that excitement and having those distractions look so appealing?
And I think it really comes down to that's a pretty, you can say, self-reflective question to answer for yourself. And this really comes down to what you truly enjoy doing, what you're really good at doing, what you have, basically what your passion is, what you think your purpose is. This is all, a lot of it has to do with motivation, right? This is one of the first things that we tackle when we work with someone, is we take a look at, okay, what is driving this person? And it's a number of factors. We call it the P5 factor, right? Purpose, passion, personality as well. You have to be aware of these types of things so that you know what you're good at, what you're not good at. You know what your tendencies are. And that's kind of like my tendency. I love to take on new projects. I love to be the creative. I love to start the projects off. And I know to at a certain degree, I will have to hand it off. So always take a look and say, okay, do I need someone else to finish this off? So there's people out there, including myself, where I have good finishers. I have good closers. Like, they know how to finish it off. And I'll finish certain projects off myself too. But if you can't do it yourself, have the right people on your team to be able to do it, or partnerships with people who can. It's interesting that you say that, because the message that I just got right before we started recording this episode was from my painter, and he just said he's going to send two other guys to not from his crew but from a different crew to finish it off.
Hmm.
So you could see how that could apply. So it's knowing yourself, knowing what you like to do, knowing what you're good at, and not necessarily pigeonholing yourself. This is something it's a very powerful principle. It's extremely powerful if you take a look at this, because a lot of us do things that we don't enjoy doing or don't fit our skill set. And then we wonder why we're not doing well in it. Why aren't our clients paying us? Why isn't our business growing? It's because we're not focusing our attention in the right areas. And that holds a lot of people back. And Nathan, you know how many people I come across from this very particular thing? Here's a number one thing I come across with business owners, especially with small business owners, is they don't want to sell. They don't consider themselves as a salesperson. They don't like the process of selling. They don't want to be sleazy or seen as sleazy.
Hmm.
If they don't have a sales team, guess what? You're dead in the water. Sorry. If you're not going to learn to do it, learn to enjoy to do it, right? Build your skills on it, your business isn't going anywhere. And unfortunately, that's the reality of things. Even seasoned CEOs, for example, you are marketing yourself to everybody around you, your employees, your strategic partners, your board of directors. If you don't know how to market yourself effectively, it doesn't matter how smart you are, you're not going to get as far as you need to. So as a person in a specific role, you need to know not necessarily what you need to be good at, but what is going to accelerate your results, right? And this is what I tell people is you could spend 5 units of energy to get 1 step forward, or you could spend 5 units of energy and get 10 steps forward. Which one do you want to choose?
So, one of my clients, his phone call sales guy, used to be a waiter. And as a waiter, I mean, his job was dependent on, oh, you should totally try this dessert with that. Or, you know what would go great with this dinner is this wine. It tastes really good with that steak. And he got so good at doing that while he was a waiter that it comes naturally when he's on the call with clients or potential customers now. And he's always, I sit there and watch him because a large part of my job is understanding those communications between the sales team and the prospects and the customers. And I watch him all the time upsell and recommend things and get people to the next tier. And he loves doing it. And the business owner, the guy that runs the business, can't stand it. He hates selling. He says, selling just isn't authentic. Our people don't want to be sold to. And you're so right. If you don't have that skill, and that's a skill that so many people that are the doers of the business, they just don't have the selling in them. But having someone on your team that can do that is just so vital.
Yeah. And so it really comes down to, are you doing the things that you enjoy? Like I love what I do. Like I absolutely love what I do. And I'm sure Nathan, you love what you do. There were times I go back to when I was in the corporate world where I hated going into work because there's certain things that I just didn't want to do. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing that, or even a CEO and you're doing things that you don't like to do, yeah, there's certain things, right? You have to get up and go to the gym and lift weights to be, in good shape, right? No one's going to be able to do that for you. But in certain things in life or in business, you can have other people do that for you. I truly am a strong believer that and it goes to focusing on your strengths, right? I have mixed opinions on that because I think people overplay that. You have to focus on your weaknesses as well if it's critical for you to achieve your goals. That's the bottom line, right? You have to learn how to calculate numbers if you want to be a CEO, if you want to run a bigger company, because it's all about numbers, right? Not that you have to know how to run complex spreadsheets, but you have to be able to understand a cash flow statement and do basic things like that. You have to. And so you have to build your weakness on that. But on the flip side, you also need to take a look at your strengths, right? And I call this the Lego approach. We've talked about this in a previous episode where you build on the skills that you're already good at, add in other skills, find a unique niche that no one else really owns, or there's very few people in it, and continue to build on that. Watch your net worth go up, watch your self-worth go up, right? It's all about find something that you really enjoy doing it and continue to build on that and grow and evolve.
Mhm. I think one of the things that all of us also deal with is when we're doing the stuff that we hate or we don't enjoy, or maybe we're just not good at, and it is stuff that could be handed off to somebody else. Those frustrating things take a lot more energy and a lot more force to make happen. And then that takes away the amount of energy that we have for the things that we're really good at and we're excited about. So sometimes not knowing where to draw the line on what should I improve about myself and what should I hand off to other people, sometimes that is what ends up taking away from your ability to finish strong.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is a huge, huge factor. And I was taking a look at this, and we did a small research project around this. Why are people taking so long to execute on a project that should have been done in a shorter time frame? Why do people get distracted? Why do all these things happen? People say they don't have enough time. Here's one of the biggest factors: problem solving. People are dealing with problems when they should be dealing with actually making progress.
Mm.
When you're a CEO, when you're a small business owner, what pops your balloon? When you come up against a problem and you have to spend 3 hours trying to deal with it. Then you feel deflated, just like you said, and you don't have enough energy to work on the things that you need to work on. That's why I'm a huge, huge believer in having people in your business who are good at solving problems. Not that you don't have to solve problems, because that's what you get paid for, but you don't have to deal with all the problems that you don't want to deal with, because that will shorten your ability to execute. That will shorten your business, you can say profits. That will even shorten your lifespan because you're dealing with so many problems. And this is a prime example. The reason why this gentleman, I truly believe, and his crew is not able to finish this project properly is because he's taken on too many other jobs. And I see him, this guy's got two phones. He's quoting jobs and he's talking to existing customers. His administration sucks. Hands down, he's got no administrator. He's trying to do it himself. And that's what's holding him back. And him and I have had conversations where I know for sure, there's times when I'm absent-minded, I completely admit, but that I asked for something specific. And I thought he got it. And I've asked him, hey, okay, 3 times I've asked him the same question. You realize that this is the paint I want for this, right? This is a paint I want for this, right? And I'll even send it in a WhatsApp text, and he still painted it wrong.
Oh, geez.
And now he's got to fix it. And then he's telling me I told him something incorrect. And I'm not taking it personally because now I've gotten to know his personality and how he operates. But before, I'm like, am I on crack? Like, did I actually say that? No, I'm pretty sure I didn't. So I was starting to get a little bit like, am I losing it? But all of these things are adding to his business problems. And I think he's at the point where he doesn't want to deal with all this stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. Because it's a taking away from him getting new jobs and actually making more money. He's at the point now where he could potentially lose money on this job. Mm-hmm. And so that's a bigger problem, right? So it all really comes down to, make sure that you have the right people doing the right jobs in your business as well.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot here to chew on. I know that I'm not the only one out there that at least a couple of times raised my hand and was like, yep, that's me. So I appreciate you putting this together. And if people want to check out more episodes, if they enjoyed this and they want to get more tips on how they can be a more effective man in general, a father, family figure, leader in business, leader in their own business, where's the best place to check out more episodes of this podcast?
I think first you're going to have to pick up a paintbrush and come to my house and help me finish it off. Then you can go to 2 places. You could go to youtubeformen.com, or mailpodcast.com. If you haven't gotten a copy of The Complete Man, the book, I highly encourage you to do that. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to thecompletemanbook.com, get a copy, read it, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here is outlined even in more detail in some of the chapters.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of those books that I've gone through it 3 times now. And every time I go through it, I pick up stuff that I didn't realize was there the first time. Maybe it's like a little bit further on in my journey. And I'm like, oh, now I'm able to consume this piece of information that I just glossed right over the first time. So excellent book, highly recommended. And until next time, Purdeep, we will catch you later.
Till next time, man.